Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I started these sessions where I talk to different people from across the world about art and its effects on our mental health, because it's been such a important part of my life, of how I see art, is something that I thought that I wanted to share and talk about and connect to other people if that is something they feel equally excited and passionate about. So today I have Grace with me, joining me from Tuscany. Is it, Grace? Have I got that right?
Yeah.
I met Grace through Instagram. This is probably our first ever real conversation that we're going to have. How are you feeling about it, Grace?
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here with you. I'm excited about this concept and this meeting about talking about mental art mental art, mental health and art together. I think it's the first
Mental
time
art
I'm
also
actually having
sounds
this
very good.
conversation, and I think it's an important one. So, yeah.
It is, it is. So to begin the whole session, tell us a little bit about yourself. What is it that you do? Where are you from originally? Or whatever it is that you feel like sharing with us.
Okay, so my name is Grace Lambert Phillips. I'm an artist, but I started as a photographer. I still am a photographer, but I've definitely expanded and accepted the fact that being an artist means that sometimes you want to use different mediums and move in different directions, and it's really important, I think, to do that. So I say that I'm an artist and not defining a particular form, but photography is really important. So I'm the founder of the Lombard Phillips Foundation, which is a platform telling stories through the medium of documentary photography, but it's humanitarian work. So it's all about telling those important stories that are not always easy to tell or that are not being told. And we bring awareness to them through the medium of documentary photography. So that's my foundation.
Wow.
And I'm just in the process of setting up my first working studio in Tuscany, which will involve sculpting, painting, drawing, film, dark rooms, ceramic, everything. So
Wow.
yeah.
So is it going to be a space for other artists to come along, or is it just going to be your space? So whoever's listening might be interested in like coming over.
Yeah,
But
no,
is that an
absolutely.
open for art, or?
Yeah, well, it will be. I will also have hospitality there. So it's going to be as part of a boutique hotel. It's like a boutique hotel. Beautiful. Cultural space. So I'm going to be the director of the art section, and it will be in the garden as well. So we'll have sculptings in the garden. So I'm responsible for sort of managing the arts and cultures side of it with music. I have friends in London coming to do theatre rehearsals, things. So it will be like an amazing cultural space for all kinds of art, poetry, everything. And so it will be my working studio, but I will also invite artists sometimes to come and do a residency, maybe for a month, to come and do some work. And I will move out and let them go in and do their thing. And then we'll exhibit. So it will also be a gallery, a proper gallery space. So it's the perfect, it's a beautiful space in Tuscany in the middle of the country. A huge Renaissance garden. It's really stunning. So it will be the perfect space to feel creative, to be creative, and then to exhibit your work and to sell work. And so it's a whole moving function.
And also connect to people like yourselves, because, for an artist, it's one thing to paint and be in the environment and everything, but it's very, at times it can be quite lonely when you're just on your own. So if you're in a space with people like you who are nurturing, who kind of can push people forward, that's quite something that artists generally need. I feel it's quite a need. Don't you? I don't know. What do you think?
No, I agree. I think to create is a very personal thing. Sometimes we want to be, I know for me anyway, I'm talking personally, that it's going into my alignment, it's being in my space, and then I'm going to work. And I don't always want to talk to someone at that point. I want to just be doing my thing, drawing. But there's also a part, I think, of an artistic mind, which I think we all are artistic, really, but the artist should also be sharing and connecting. And then it's moving that energy, not just as a solo entity. It's important to also celebrate
Yeah, and be celebrated. Oh, that's a nice feeling.
That's what I want to create. This, we call it the living art space, where we introduce the idea, which is not really a new idea, but people forget, I think, sometimes that art and life are actually the same thing.
Interlinked,
We're all a piece of creation, and every day the artist is creating because it's our natural state.
Wow.
We're not artists that we're selected people that we are. We're all artists, I believe. So I want to promote the idea that art and life merge, and it's a place that I will create a space where the two things go together, and there's no separation. And the vegetables that we will be growing in the garden will find their way to the table in the studio to be drawn, and then to be prepared into some food that we will eat together. And that's the idea. So I'm not sure if I answered your questions as I did. What we do is sort of an artistic way that we just go off on an idea and talk about it. So
I think whatever is meant to be said is already said. So it's great. I think you're doing a massive favor to the art community. I understand that the whole space is for yourself. And yes, you are, of course, the ambassador of your country, and you're saying Tuscany is beautiful, this, that, people come, da, da, da. But at the core level, from a person like me listening to you, it sounds almost like heaven. I would love to kind of come and just lose myself and not even know what it is that I'm there for, but allow that whatever it is that's meant to come through.
And you'll be welcome. Exactly. That's exactly what it will be. You will be welcome, and you can come and do a session, do a week, month, whatever you want, and then you exhibit, and you can do your talks from there.
Sorry, no, you go on.
I was going to say, I'm actually Scottish. I'm not Italian. I was born in Scotland, and I lived in France, then I lived in London, and now I'm here. So I'm actually Scottish.
I did wonder. And how does the language barrier work with you in being in a country where most people do speak and understand? So did you have to learn the languages as you went along?
Yeah, well, I'm learning at the moment. I'm not able to really communicate properly. But what I also love, and I've been through this before because I lived in France, I learned to speak French pretty well, but not brilliantly well. But what I've discovered is that the language of art and the language of culture, language isn't really even needed sometimes. You understand people based on the way you feel and everything. And I think it's really interesting as an artist to be in a space where you don't understand the words. You're sort of having to really hone in on the other talents that we all have, which is to feel and to see and to third eye vision, and not just the vision of what we see. But I'm learning, and obviously it's important that I learn. I need to learn, and it's a beautiful language and a beautiful culture. It's so rich with art and culture that not to understand the language would be a tragedy, because the literature and the poetry here is amazing, and you don't understand poetry in a second language. You've got to really understand the language. So I'm studying, and I will be learning more and more. I've only been here since September 2020, so
not very long.
And I was in lockdown for the first few months that I was here, so I was not really able to be around people so much. It was a bit solitary for the first 6 months. I was talking with friends and making friendships online through people that I was meeting. We were able to sort of keep communicating, but I wasn't physically seeing a lot of people in the first 6 months because we went into a lockdown again after I arrived. So
wow, that must have been quite a journey, because 2 years ago is when the whole thing, COVID, hit. So with your move into a new country, new language, new everything, and to find yourself back again is quite a journey. I think it's all this. It's new, it's exciting, but it's nerve-wracking also at times. But anyway, I will go on to my next question. So it says, are you a practicing artist, or have you had any education in it? If not, were you guided to it by someone or by an incident?
I was always, as a child, creating. Always, I would be in the bath, and I would come out of the bath and say to my mother, as a sort of 8-year-old child, "Look, Mum, I made a swan out of the soaps." I was like getting the soap, and And she would say, no, you just made a mess. You know, I would think, no, it actually looks like a swan. And I was starting to sort of understand that, well, no, as a child, you don't understand, you just do. And so as children, I think we're all artists and we're creating all the time. It's as we grow up that we're told to get a proper job, or to, what are you going to be when you grow up? And you think, well, kind of happy with the things I'm doing. So I was always playing music and writing, dancing. I was a ballet dancer when I was younger, as a child. And so I was always creating, somehow moving my body and dancing as a way of expressing. So I understood that was, to me, that's what art is. It's an expression of your inner alignment with something that's free, which is our natural being way. So I was always in that space. So when I was a teenager, I decided that I would study photography because I thought that was a tangible art form that could also be practical.
Right.
I could see that.
Right.
That's a way that you could actually live and make money, because I saw people do it. I had friends of the family who had studio, and I was introduced to that as a child, and I was sort of modeling. Actually, I started on the other side of the camera, but as a kid, like 15 years old, in the studio with makeup on and everything, and just sort of looking at the camera thinking, I'm more interested in what's going on behind the camera. I don't want to be in front of the camera. I want to know what's going on behind it. So I started exploring that and asking questions about what he was doing. What are you doing with the camera, and where is the film, and what are you doing?
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, so I studied that, and you know, I thought, I'm going to study that because I'm really interested in what goes on in the dark room. And so that was my first dive into a practical art form and learning about it. So I did study photography, but I mostly learned just by doing it. To be honest, it's a practical art form, and I learned more just by making mistakes, and I made a lot of mistakes, and you learn, the hard way, but it's the best way. And so then,
is there a focus to your photography? Like, is it more people oriented, or is it like more like what's like the main focus of your thing, or is it everything that comes to heart?
No, I started as a street photographer, really, because I was interested in people and poetry and humanity, and I want to understand. And that was always my thing. I think art to me was a way of understanding the world. So as a kid, I was looking around thinking, what is this? What are these people doing? What is this culture? Always curious about things. So I thought a great way to learn about the world to me was to photograph it, because photography, I feel, gives you a second chance to look at things. Like,
right, of course,
passing really quickly in photography, sort of catching a moment, and you've got the second chance to look at it again once you've printed. You're going through the whole process of, originally in film, it's a long process. You use the film, you take the shot, you go into the darkroom, you process, you print, and then you can look at it. And that, to me, was magical, when you see the image coming alive again in the darkroom, and then you've got this print. And then you can look at it and think, what does that mean? What's the poetry? And there's always, I think, to me, it's visual poetry. So to me, it was about people, humanity, really. But, lately I started appreciating architecture. So it's always moving. I was always, interested in black and white, because I started with, my inspiration was the Magnum photographers, Cartier-Bresson, Robert Capa, all these amazing, Eve Arnold, these incredible photographers. And I started wanting to be like that. And that's still something that I will always strive to be. But then, it's always moving as an artist. I think as an artist, you should always be moving and exploring.
Yeah, I think that's actually the growth process, isn't it? If you get stuck with one thing, I mean, you can be great at it, but then is it satisfying to yourself? You could sell really well because people know you've developed a style or whatever, but then is it soul fulfilling, or there's more to you? There's always more to us.
There's always more. The more you find, the more you realize there is to find, and you never get to the bottom
I
of
know,
it.
it's like what do they call it? Bottomless pit, you know, you just keep going in, keep going
We
in.
are a bottomless pit, I would say.
It's a nice feeling to not have an end, you know.
Yeah,
it's a good feeling. It's although at some level, I remember as in my 20s or 30s even, there was this thing about why can't I know what I'm doing? Like why? It's frustrating because you can't you want to be like other people and be like, you know, put yourself in a box so that you can sell and portray yourself better, whatever that better means. But then you have to break out of that box and say, well, you know, maybe you're not meant to be in the box, so just let the box go.
I think so.
But it's important.
The box is there for us. I think in society we're taught that we need to go into a box in order to be structured in some way. And I think the job of the artist actually, I believe, is to understand that freedom is in fact the way, the state of being, the nature. And we are what we are, and there's no reason to define or limit anything, because what is it they say? To define is to limit.
Yeah.
Define, then you are limiting. And so we don't need limitations, actually. As human beings, I think we need structure, of course, and we need to have various way, you know, maybe things that we do that keep us in, you know, in a sort of structure. In a sense, it keeps us alive and keeps us going in some way. But I think the spirit needs to be free to move.
I don't know. I think the way I see it is spirit is free. It is us who are wanting to kind of limit, like, you know, because the mind kind of enjoys having control. The spirit itself is like control. It's just so wild. It's like, and very spontaneous, but all these acts of the spirit are actually taken as a way of not being in control, if that makes any sense. Like, so if you are a wild woman, they look at you going, oh my God, come and have some sense, like have your life together. Why are you so, you know, wild? But then the truth is, what if that is the journey of the person? It's okay to be that, isn't it?
I agree. I think we're a juxtaposition, though, aren't we? Because we're limited inside the human body. And I think that's what this journey is all about. The two aspects of, if there are two, there are many, but if we say there were two, like one is the soul and one is the body. One
is the body. Yeah. We have to go hand in hand.
Balance that we have to find. So I suppose within the body there are limits, because we have only so many hours where we can stay awake, and we have to eat every now and then and stuff like that. And that's the limits. But the soul, no. And that's where we find that sort of balance. I think that's where art comes in. And that's how it relates to mental health, because I think that's what keeps us healthy, that balance of knowing that we are limited and we are not limited at the same time. So we're always this contradiction in a way.
Duality is very important, isn't it? To recognize the duality, the two sides.
There is always,
So my next question, Grace, is how do you bring in art into your daily life? Do you do it once a week or daily? Now, this question was majorly based on the fact that when people are listening to this, there's this thing that we have to do something every day. You know, and that is like, you know, we eat food every day. In the same way, when I say art, I do not mean it like you sit down and paint every day. What I mean is, do you allow yourself to do art or be expressive consciously, is what I mean. And that could be through photography or whatever, but is that something that you do consciously or no?
To me, there is no separation between my life and art. And I'm lucky in the way that I've created a life whereby I can do that. Because if you have like a 9-to-5 job, because you have to put food on the table, which I've also done, you have to think, okay, I really feel like writing a poem, or I really would love to just sit and sculpt, but actually I'm not able to do that right now. But I will as soon as I can. So I think that it depends on your lifestyle. If you have the luxury, which I've had to work really hard for that, and I still do, you know, design work and things like that from time to time, but I actually really enjoy it because it's also bringing in all the things that I love. But I have never found really a separation between art and life. So I'm always ready now to draw, sculpt, do whatever I feel in a day, write a poem, I write every day. I hope I'm answering your question correctly. I mean,
yes, you are. Yes, you are.
So for me, it's not like, oh, once a week I will do this, or I give myself one day a week where I can be an artist. I'm just always showing up like that because I found it was just the way that I always really.
That's how you're wired, basically.
How I'm wired, and it's how I survive. And honestly, I think art to an artist, it's not just a job. It's actually your life. It's your blood. It's your air. It's almost more important than food. You know, if I need to play piano, I need to play piano, and I will not eat, rather play piano. So for me, there isn't really a separation with that. And I think that's really what I want to be my message. If there is a message, the work to inspire the idea that we are a piece of art. But having said that, we don't need to create the perfect situation in order to do it. As Bukowski, the great writer who I really admire his work and the things he said, what you're going to wait until you've got the perfect studio when the children are grown up and you can then be an artist? No, you are an artist. And if you are doing a job in an office where you think, oh my gosh, I just want to be an artist, you've got to understand that actually you are, even in that moment. And I think that's the freedom of art, that you can understand that you are art. And if you're having to do that job to put food on the table, that in itself is art, because you're doing something for a reason. And you can always have the freedom to, you know, I always find a way. I'd be in the office doodling on my pad. I probably shouldn't have been doing it, but it's survival, you know, the little things, even just doodling on a pad, a little flower during a moment where you can scream because things aren't going well or they're not going your way. There's always a way of being in your art, I think.
That's beautiful. That's actually really true. It's basically channeling out an expression without thinking about it, that is what you're going to sit down and do this. You're just constantly allowing yourself to be expressed through whatever comes.
Mm-hmm. Even if it's just arranging your flowers or making your lunch and you do it and present it in a nice way. I think it's a lifestyle rather than just, because I think the mistake might be if someone will think, I need to do some art, I'm going to book a class once a week and I'm going to be in art, you know, do the art then. I know for me, if I was doing that, I might get to that class and think, I don't feel like it right now. I don't really feel like doing that. It's like there is a freedom attached to art that I think is a really important piece of it, that you need to give that voice a voice. You need to be aware of that freedom to do it. So it's not maybe realistic to think that you're only going to be able to create art during that 1 hour in a week, because you might not really be in the mood at that moment. Yeah. But you do have, I guess there's a discipline with it too. My brother's a writer and he always says, you know, find an hour every day to write, and even if you don't feel like it, do it, because it's a muscle. I think it's also true. So it doesn't do any harm to have that moment where you're creating and you think, I don't feel like it, but you know what, I'm going to just allow something, and it might not be what you want to come, but just allow anything. I don't know, life is art. We are art, so I don't think there's any right way to do it or any wrong way.
No. I think what it meant in my head when I asked this question is a lot of people have this, when, like you answered, you said, there's no right time to do it. The time is now. Yeah. Right? You can't wait for something to happen, like the kids grow up or, blah, blah happens, and then you do art. Art is a way of life. Yeah. And also the fact that sometimes it's very intimidating or scary almost for people who don't do art to kind of, where do you begin? How do you begin? You just begin with a piece of paper, like an A4 sheet, and with a pencil. And that's like the basic things that you have from your child's school bag that you can express. But it is just that beginning. You don't have to do it daily, but yes, it does have its effects when you do it daily. Like you said, it's a muscle, right? Mm-hmm. So there's no right, wrong way. And we just, as long as it can be in some way incorporated into our consciousness, that it is a way to express. is what I think it's important. But anyway,
I agree.
how does so now this is like a major question why this whole session is happening. How does the act of creating help you with your own mental health? Does it help you express better, gain clarity, or whatever your thoughts are? What is it that you feel it majorly shifts within you when you create art in your mental health?
I think art and mental health are two things that are inseparable. That are mental health. If you're not feeling good, like they say, if you're depressed and you think that taking a pill is going to cure that, really what depression, in my opinion and my experience, is it's your body's way of telling you something needs to change and something needs to shift. And in my life, when I felt bad or there were things not going well and I didn't feel good, I went to art, I went to sculpting, or I would, put together an idea, write something, paint something, I don't know, yoga, anything, any art form, because I think that's also an art form, movement, dance, shifts the energy. And if you can shift the energy and get into alignment, I think alignment is a really key word in mental health. If you can be in alignment, and I think art, for me, was what would put me in alignment every single time. So it was my way of staying healthy in my mind, which mental health, it has these sort of connotations in society. If someone's struggling with their mental health, people go, oh yeah, that means this or that, you're different. Or people think that it's not a normal thing. But I actually think that mental health shouldn't be thought of like that, because we all are on a balance of good mental health or not such good mental health. We're all there. No one's different to that. We're all on that. And we all have the possibility of going out of alignment, which could lead to, I think, always certainly lead to not feeling so good in a mental balance. And alignment can lead to whatever alignment is for you, lead to good mental health, because if you're aligned, that's the key, really, isn't it? I think if you're aligned, then what could be wrong if you're aligned? You could have physical problems, you can have lots of issues in your life, but if you're aligned, everything feels better. And that's really, for me, what good mental health is alignment. And so for me, to create art or to produce art or just to be living art, playing piano, cooking my favorite dish, whatever it might be, define art. Art is just living. So if you're in alignment with yourself, then you're going to feel good. So for me, art was my savior. It saved me. It was how I was able to stay in a place where I felt good. And I know when I'm not feeling good, I'm out of alignment, and I think, okay, not what's wrong. I think, what do I need to do to get back in alignment? And it always means creating more.
That's very powerful, Grace. I don't know if you realize this or not, but yes, of course, alignment is important, but to question yourself if you are in a low place or a dark place or whatever the place is, to not sulk and be there for too long. I mean, I think it's important to be there also, because that also is power, but to have that clarity to say, actually, okay, I'm feeling this. I know this is where I am, but how do I get back in alignment? It's like usually we ask ourselves, I think I'll go with my personal experience. I'm always thinking, why am I here? What do I need to do? What is it? But I don't realize that it's actually at the tip of my fingers most times. If all you have to do is just reconnect to your inner self and then allow yourself, the outside, inside, to make a conversation, and then you'll be aligned. But to be consciously asking this is quite, at least I'm taking a lot from this, saying, next time I feel a little low, I will ask myself, how do I get back into alignment? That's a very, 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 very nice thing that you've just taught us all.
I learned that the hard way. I mean, I learned it through actually being out of alignment and suffering and making bad decisions in that place. Because when you're out of alignment, you're not in a place to make a good decision. You're only, my opinion and what I've learned is your only job is to get back in alignment, and then you can make decisions and then you can see what to do. And I think what we do when we feel bad is we think, what do I need to do to change this situation? What do I need to do to make it better? And you're trying to change the big stuff. But when you're out of alignment, you're not able to do that, because you're going to make the wrong decisions and probably make it worse. So that's what I do anyway.
And also the big picture is the big picture. It's too big to be worked with, but what's within you is still something that you can control. So if you can't change and work on the big picture, at least you have this power to say, this is so powerful. I don't even know if you realize that. Thank you. I almost feel like I'm urged to say thank you so much for going through your dark phases to come out and to teach us this, that every time anybody is feeling low, we can ask ourselves, okay, yes, we acknowledge, we embrace it, but then how can I get myself back aligned with me?
Yeah.
You know, so I know it must have been terribly tough for you, but having gone through it and to be able to share, you must be at a place where you're like friends with that whole phase of your life. Right? Yeah, I'm glad I did go through it.
Absolutely. And I think you've got to get to that point.
You
can be friends with it, and you can go, you know what, thank you, because that actually the darkest moments are the places where you've got the possibility to become the most aligned, strangely. And you think, oh wow, why does it have to be like that? But until you've felt what it's like to really feel out of alignment, how do you know what it feels like to be in alignment?
True, very true. Wow, I'm going to take this word alignment and run with it now. So thank you so much, Grace, for sharing that with us. It's huge. These are little things that I feel like whoever is listening to, we might not recognize that is what we need. It's like a little trigger that needs to just kind of, not even a trigger. The trigger has a very negative understanding, and not in my head, but people who are listening, I want them to know that it's a very tiny shift that we have to do within ourselves to say that the reason we're feeling like we're falling apart or we're losing everything is because we're not aligned with our true being.
Yeah.
Until you do that, you will not be able to make the right decisions or move forward. But it's so hard when you are in that place.
Hard, it's like you don't want to belittle anyone's experience because I've been there when people say, oh, come on, just pull yourself out of it. And
it's so hard.
That's the worst thing you can say. Exactly. I think it really is. But I think that what I want to teach people, if I was going to be teaching people anything, it would be that it's just little things that you can do. Just love yourself, just pick up that pencil and draw, and also don't think you have to be good, because art isn't about being good. It's about
stop being judgmental.
Yeah, because people think that, oh, you're an artist, so you can draw, you can sculpt, you're lucky. No, you know what, we're all able to do things. We're just all gifted in different ways, and you might not be the best sculptor in the world or the best painter. I'm not. But I do it, and because I know that it's this thing that I have to do, and it makes me feel happy when I do it, because there's an energy flow and there's a freedom with it, because it doesn't matter what the result is. No one needs to even see it. It's actually doing it. So art really is, I think, something that everyone can benefit from.
Yeah, wow, that's lovely. Thank you so much, Grace. Although you have kind of answered my next question, but I'll still say it. What benefits have you personally felt when you practice creating art, being more mindful? So I think you kind of did say that it has gotten you out of your dark place, and you're able to align yourself, or at least be noticing that's what you need. So I'm sure it has affected you in your personality, like when you do it more mindfully, like has it helped you in your confidence, or given you a little bit of a faith, or something has like kind of, I don't know how to put this, but has your personality, like complaining personality, shifted to being more grateful kind of thing, gratitude? Does something like that happen?
Yeah, no, I think for me, art is just literally putting you in alignment, but it's putting you in touch with who you really are. And I think if you're not confident, it's because you've not understood who you really are enough. And if you're doing, if you're creating art, and it's just so simple, you're just drawing something or whatever, you might discover something about yourself. It happens to me all the time. So for example, I'll give you a proper example. It might be useful a way to explain. I didn't know that I could sculpt. It was something that I didn't know I could do. I really didn't, but I had a feeling that I wanted to express an idea and I didn't have the words. I couldn't find the words. I wasn't wanting to paint. I didn't want to take a photograph about it because I wasn't seeing it. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to go and buy some clay. And I just did it on inspiration, which is another point to the artist. You've got to listen to those little voices that say, pick up that pencil, or write that poem, or just go for a walk there, see that flower, whatever it might be. You've got to listen to that. So I did. I listened and I thought, okay, there's this voice saying, buy clay. So I thought, okay, went to buy some clay, brought it home. Actually, I had one of my children in the pram. So I was, a mother taking care of children, not having a minute for myself, exhausted, and thinking, okay, the last thing I probably just need to sleep, but I'm feeling like I have something that needs to come out. And so I bought the clay, took the baby home with the clay under the pram. Baby goes to bed. And I had 2 hours all by myself. My husband at the time was away touring. And so I put the fire on, put some nice music on, got the clay and just started to play with it. 2 hours later, less time, actually, I had this piece of sculpting, which I didn't know what it was going to be. It showed me. And I had no idea. It wasn't a vision in my mind. It was just me and clay and an idea that came out of somewhere, don't know where. And I was, at the end, I had this sculpting and the title came as well. And it was coming up for air. And it was a man coming out of the water breathing for the first time, which I should show you. I have a picture I can show you, but because it's a visual it's actually quite powerful, because when I look at it, I go, wow, I didn't know that's how I was feeling. So it was showing me what I was feeling that I didn't have words for. So art has this ability to be something, it's not even within you, it's coming from somewhere else. And so for me, it was important just to be free and listen to those little inspirational voices saying, buy that clay, sit down, do that thing, whatever it might be. And you might learn something about yourself. So when you get to that point where you are learning things about yourself that you didn't even know through art, it's showing you, you build a confidence because you get to be yourself more. And you get to listen and following that voice and following that sort of path gives you that feeling of, I'm really a human being. I'm really alive. I'm actually very emotional when I think about it, because I think that is, you're tapping into that sort of energy. That's powerful.
That is powerful. And also you feel part, it's like you become one with that energy that not only is in you, but it is around you.
Yeah.
And it takes you, it's kind of like a warm hug. And you go, that's the part where they call it is the flow.
Yes.
The flow is always there. It is us who bounce out of it.
Yes.
And then when you are in the flow, it's not even you. It's not even Grace. It is just that energy.
You're tapping into that thing.
Yeah. You kind of cross over. It's like you lose the form of being Grace, but you become that and it becomes you. And it's just that.
It's a warm hug. I like that.
It's like
that's alignment. That's the feeling of alignment, because you're in alignment with the flow of that energy, which actually I think is us. I think
it is us. Of course, it is us, and we are it. But it's that recognition, because we're so stuck in our limited body, right? Because the body is visible. It's visible to the eyes, so we choose to see from the eyes that we have. But there are eyes like the third eye you mentioned earlier. But for allowing that, you also have to believe or have the concept or be open that exists.
Yeah.
Right. So when you acknowledge it, it acknowledges you. It's these days I'm into like the whole 7 chakra thing, and I've had this thing that I want to have my back straight. Like I've always been like that, and I'm like working on myself to kind of be straighter, because it sounds really strange, but you know, the flowers, they go towards the light, right? The path is upwards. Now, if I'm going to slouch like this, the light's not going to come down my crown chakra. So I have to be up here for it to come. It's like, I know it sounds bizarre, but that's my new thing, that I want to fill my head and my body and everything with light.
Yes.
So whatever works for you, I think this incident of the 2 hours and the music and you being with you and almost awed by yourself.
Yeah, my life changed after that. 6 months later, I actually was living in France. I changed everything because of that sculpting. And so you never know what you've got in front of you. 2 hours and something shifts, and it's art that can do it, because art is a language that is not with just words, you know. And so, you know, I just think that anyone that is just thinking, oh, I just want to feel that, you can just go with whatever it is and be like a child. Because remember, as a child, no one told you not to draw or not to paint. You were sort of encouraged to do it because children are allowed to do it. But as adults, we're sort of feeling like we need to be given an invitation to a class to do art. No, you actually don't need anything. You just need to be in your own skin and to listen to what you feel. And if you want to get up and dance or whatever, just do it. Just be free, because that is what we are. We're nature. Go in the direction of sunlight is what I always say. That's what the flowers do.
It's beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Grace. I'm almost like towards my last question. While we spoke, you did give us a little bit tips, but are there any tips that you would recommend people who don't do art, who actually do art but don't do it more consciously? So are there any tips that you can suggest to people?
No, I just
kind of already have, but I'm just
be, I think, and be as a child, I think, is what I would say. And don't think you need to do something good. Just do it. I'm not the best painter or sculptor, but I know that when I do it, I'm free and I can produce something that other people might think is good. But to me, I just think, well, you know, it doesn't really matter. I'm not doing it for that. Be free and just do everything. Don't care.
Yeah, you know, in my last question, the 7th question is about a book. That was the set I sent to the woman before you. But is there? You've already spoken about the space that you are creating. Is there anything that you would love to share with us that has been your major accomplishment in life in regards to art at all?
I mean, I think I'm on a journey of humanitarianism in art and just wanting to spread that word about storytelling and letting being free. I mean, I have work that I sell. I'm very proud of the photography that I've worked really hard to get to the point where I can say that I'm really in a flow with photography, that it's like something that I do and I don't think about it. And I understand how I work with a Leica, so we have no automatic features. It's a proper sort of art form of light and time, which is what it is. It's all about that. I'm really proud of the work that I've done with that I've got to a point where I can really capture things because I'm not consciously thinking about it. It's an instinct. So I'm kind of proud of that work, and I'm proud of the foundation. I set that up at the beginning of lockdown, actually, just at the beginning when everything was going pear-shaped. I thought, I'm going to launch my foundation. It just happened just before, but I continued with it and did a project called Stories of Isolation around the pandemic, which I'm really proud of that project because it was at a time where everyone was just shutting down. And I thought, no, this is a moment to connect, not to shut down. So I went full into 100% of my time into this project during lockdown. I didn't watch one Netflix movie. I was connecting with photojournalists all over the world to tell the global story of the pandemic. And so I'm actually really proud of that. That will be an exhibition. It will be a book. Actually, you mentioned books, so that will be a book one day, telling the story of the first year of the pandemic through the eyes of the photojournalists or the photographers in the world who are on the streets seeing people. So we're seeing the visual story, not the narrative from the news, not the idea of vaccinations, not vaccinations, whatever this, aside from that, but the human story, the story about people and humanity, and how I think the message for me in that is how we connect and how we are beings of connection, not of isolation. So how do we deal with isolation? And now we're seeing the work that I'm still working on it because it's progressing. And the way that I'm seeing the world now is that we're going so strongly towards connection. And it's really beautiful. So I'm really proud of that project. So if anyone wants to check that out, it's on Instagram. It's called Stories of Isolation. It's stories_of_isolation. And you can follow it there. And it will eventually be a book, which I would love to be all over the world, because I think it's a global story. It's our story.
So the people that you chose for the photojournalists, did you choose them, or did they come to you, or was it something that you like? Could there be photographers from different? So I mean, assuming that somebody from China sees this interview, or from Sri Lanka or India or Pakistan or Asian countries, if they also see it and they want to contribute or be part of it, is that possible?
Yes, absolutely. It's a community.
So they can contact you through your link.
They can. I mean, it's a hashtag, and it's been really used all over the world now. The hashtag stories_of_isolation. We use the underscore because someone already has stories of isolation, so we wanted to use it, so we use the underscore. So yeah, people can use the hashtag, and I see them, and I basically curate from, I search for people, and I find people, and I invite them, or they come to me. It's been working like this, and I see hundreds of photographers' work every day. I'm looking at different things, but we have currently shared something like 600 photographers' works from every continent in the world. Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. Okay. No, it's just nice to know what you're doing, and so whoever will be listening can get in touch with you, because the whole aim of working through, videos and sharing your story is so that people don't find you or myself or anybody else intimidating or saying, oh my God, these people are there and I'm here. It's that whole connection thing that we've kind of crossed the boundaries of time and space through internet, through Zoom or whatever, the YouTube. We're now so connected that nobody is too far away.
No.
So I just ask these questions so that people can reach you when they need
absolutely. And the foundation website, lombardphillipsfoundation.com. Anyone wants to be in touch, if you have anything, it's a platform for people. It's a storytelling platform. We want to tell important stories. I'm working on a project now in the south of Italy, because the culture and the heritage there is very strong, but some of the traditions are dying because the people that hold them are old, and they are in the last years of their life. And if no one takes those traditions forward, they will be disappearing. So I'm working on that too. There's a lot of interesting things happening through the foundation. And I'll be setting up the studio and workshop in Tuscany, which will be open to everybody.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. Actually, I'm not showing my excitement as much, but I am excited, and I can almost see myself like coming and enjoying. Absolutely. So it sounds. Can I ask you a quick question, Grace? How did you or I find each other? Did you find me? Because I can't remember.
I can't remember. I remember it was it was during lockdown 2020, and I was in London at that point, and I think you said hello and asked me if I would have a chat with you then, because I think you were thinking about doing something like this, because I think you were also on the same line as I was, thinking about connection. And we had a chat, and it didn't happen. I think the first lockdown was a bit sort of we were all walking on fresh snow, weren't we? And it was a bit sort of, no one really quite knew what they were doing. So we did say, yes, let's do it. And I think we made sort of plans to, but it just never happened. So now we've sort of reconnected.
Yeah, I think I remember your photography. I think there's black and white photography.
Yeah.
There's an image, I think, capturing the isolation or something to that effect. I think that was what captured me. Now I remember.
Yeah.
I'm always curious how people come forward and come through in my life, and I find that as a sign that it's meant to be, and that's why it has happened.
Yeah,
so
eventually we get there. But I love your work as well, the way that it's almost hypnotic. You're doing this almost like sacred geometry, and I think that in itself, that state of, you know, it's almost hypnotizing to me.
Wow.
And you sort of get into that zone like this. It's lovely.
I don't know, Grace, I think I'm so much in the zone that I'm actually getting therapy to get out of the zone.
Yeah, but no, just don't get out of the zone. Stay in the zone.
I literally, like, because I think I live on a planet. Like yesterday I was having my driving class, and she said, Hamna, where have you been? And I said, I think I've been on another planet, and I'm just getting accustomed to you guys. So she had a good laugh, and I said, oh, you guys have way too many symbols and signs and things to notice. On my planet, it's just run and fly. So wow, it's being in the flow, staying aligned. It's something that we, as artists, I think, because we have experienced it, it is easy for us to jump in and out of those things now, after a lot of dark nights of the soul, because those are equally important. I'm actually doing a piece right now, and I'm sitting on it, which I am planning to share, and it is very much related to the dark night of the soul, because so many of us went through it in COVID. Because when you come back home, when we were made to be home, it was not just in the physical sense, it was very much real coming home. And if you're not happy in your home, which is of course not being aligned, then you either want to shift something, like you want to change the furniture inside you, or you want to restart again. So it's that choice of so the piece is about that. But speaking to you, I think the word that I'm going to take today is aligned, and how to keep asking yourself, how can I be aligned? What can I do to be aligned with myself? So thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. And I hope to, inshallah, I hope to come and visit you wherever. So it's called what was that space called?
So my foundation is the Lombard Phillips Foundation.
Okay.
And the space is in a place called Villa La Posta in Monteriggioni, which is in Tuscany, close to Siena, in a beautiful 18th century villa, which is going to be an amazing space for culture, art and life, just life and a beauty.
Grace, I think I'm coming there to run a retreat.
Yes, you should.
I think I'm coming there to run a retreat. It's in my head. I'm getting there. I think I'm feeling that it will be something that will be coming in future. But for now, whoever is watching this, I hope you've all enjoyed. Grace, is there anything you'd like to say in your last?
I just want to say thank you to everyone for listening, and that art is life and life is art. There's no separation. So we're all in this together.
Oh, thank you so much. You make it sound for people that art is not as hard as they feel it is. Yeah, so that's something. It's not. But that's the whole thing. The reason we have to speak about it is that schools and colleges and societies have put art on a pedestal, or maybe underground in a basement, that you get to it. but actually it is in you. Yeah.
It's not
so thank you so much, Grace, for joining me, and everybody else, whoever is listening. This is my new project. If you at all feel like you want to share your story or talk about it or understand what art is and how it has its effects on our mental health, please send me a message. You can contact me through Instagram, and I will be sharing Grace's details along in this video so you can watch it and connect to her as well. So thank you everybody for watching, and I will be back again with somebody exciting soon. Take care. Bye, Grace. Grace, I'm not shutting you down 1 minute, but thank you everyone.